Я говорю по-русски. Ты говоришь по-русски. Она говорит по-русски. In an earlier podcast, we talked about how Russian verbs have two conjugations, the ye-yo, or first conjugation, and the I conjugation, or the second conjugation. This time, let's take a look at the I conjugation. Basic forms. Я говорю, ты говоришь, он говорит, мы говорим, вы говорите, они говорят. And the stem is говор. In the ты, он, мы, and вы forms, we see this characteristic I that gives the conjugation its name. The я form normally ends in a U, and the они form has the ending yat. When we look at these ya and они forms, there's one other important point to touch on. You'll recall that Russian has three important spelling rules, the 5-letter, the 7-letter, and the 8-letter rules. It's this last one, the 8-letter rule, that will be important here. Let's recall, we never write you or ya after any of these 8 letters. Instead, we'll use the letters a and u. Now, the ya and они forms in the I conjugation have the vowels u and ya, respectively, so we'll need to keep this in mind whenever the stem of a verb ends in any of these letters. Учиться is a common word where this comes into play. Я учусь, ты учишься, он или она учится, мы учимся, вы учитесь, они учатся. So here, because of the last letter of that stem, we'll spell the ya form with the letter u and the они form with the letter a. It really doesn't affect the pronunciation, but you do want to be sure to get the spelling right for these forms. And one other thing worth noticing about the I conjugation verbs. The consonant at the end of the stem can often change, but this will happen in the ya form only. For an example, let's look at видеть, to see. Я вижу, ты видишь, он видит, мы видим, вы видите, они видят. So you see that the d becomes zh, but again only in the ya form. You may remember that consonants can change in the ye-yo conjugation too, but in those verbs it'll typically change in all of the forms, not just the ya form. Summing up. As with all verbs, the forms cannot be predicted from the infinitive, so do make sure to learn the ya, ты, and они forms. The ты, он, мы, and вы forms in the I conjugation all have this vowel I in the ending. And take care with the ya and они endings. They'll normally end in the letters u and yat, respectively, but don't forget the 8-letter spelling rule. Write u instead of u and a instead of ya after these 8 letters. If you have trouble remembering them, be sure to watch our podcast on the spelling rule letters for a review.